Hi guys, I'm Elle and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking to you about my favourite Mary Oliver poems. This is obviously something a bit different than my usual videos, but I just thought it would be a fun, change of pace, that kind of thing. So I have my copy here of Devotions by Mary Oliver. I literally treat this thing like a Bible. This is the only Mary Oliver poetry I've read, so I do want to read some of her other books and collections and stuff, but so far this was my starting point. And then I also have my journal where I have my list of my favourite Mary Oliver poems written down. So I will read out some of them, discuss my thoughts, what I think, how they speak to me, that kind of thing. Some of them I won't read out because I don't want the video to be too long. I will also give you a bit of a tour of my copy of Devotions as we go through, because I like to not mess up my books, but I like to, give my books personality. So I will, as we go through, I'll show you what I've done with Devotions. So first we obviously have all of the contents, which there are a lot of because it's a big collection. So here I've kind of just underlined and circled all of the poems that I enjoy, which are all of the ones that I've tabbed. Obviously I enjoy all of her poems, but those are ones that I particularly paid attention to. So the first poem I will be discussing is called Storage. When I moved from one house to another, there were many things I had no room for. What does one do? I rented a storage space and filled it. Years passed. Occasionally I went there and looked in, but nothing happened, not a single twinge of the heart. As I grew older, the things I cared about grew fewer, but were more important. So one day I undid the lock and called the trash man. He took everything. I felt like the little donkey when his burden is finally lifted. Things, burn them, make a beautiful fire, more room in your heart for love, for the trees, for the birds who own nothing, the reason they can fly. So Storage, which is next to Whistling Swans on, this is very early and this is only page 7. So there is not much to say about Storage. I just really enjoy the reminder and the notion that we don't need material things to make us happy, and that there are many things in life that are beautiful without costing money or needing to be owned. So moving on, this next poem is called Loneliness. Here it is. I too have known loneliness. I too have known what it is to feel misunderstood, rejected, and suddenly not at all beautiful. Oh, Mother Earth, your comfort is great, your arms never withhold. It has saved my life to know this, your rivers flowing, your roses opening in the morning. Oh, motions of tenderness. Page 23. Loneliness by Mary Oliver. Again, I feel like this one's quite obvious. This is something I do say a lot about Mary Oliver, is although her poems are beautiful, but they don't require you to think, they don't require you to dig for a hidden meaning. It's quite on the surface, which I actually really enjoy, but I know a lot of people prefer more thought-provoking poetry with layers, but I really love it's just gentle reminders that you can feel bad and you can feel lonely and you can feel as though you're not beautiful or you don't fit places, but you always fit here, just on Earth. It's where you're supposed to be. You're here for a reason. Okay, this next one is called I Happened to Be Standing. I don't know where prayers go or what they do. Do cats pray while they sleep half asleep in the sun? Does the opossum pray as it crosses the street? The sunflowers, the old black oak growing older every year. I know I can walk through the world, along the shore, under the trees, with my mind filled with things of little importance, in full self-attendance, and a condition I can't really call being alive. Is a prayer a gift or a petition, or does it matter? The sunflowers blaze. Maybe that's their way. Maybe the cats are sound asleep. Maybe not. While I was thinking this, I happened to be standing just outside my door with my notebook open, which is the way I begin every morning. Then a wren in the privet began to sing. He was positively drenched in enthusiasm. I don't know why, and yet, why not? I wouldn't persuade you from whatever you believe or whatever you don't. That's your business. But I thought of the wren singing. What could this be if it isn't a prayer? So I just listened, my pen in the air. Again, not much to say, but I think a lot of Mary Oliver's poems really are a brilliant reminder to just see the beauty where it is, rather than really trying to look for it or trying to make something what it isn't. You know, a prayer doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can be listening to birdsong and showing appreciation. So this next one is, that just fell. I'm not sure if I would say this is my all-time favourite poem, but this is one of the first Mary Oliver poems I read on Pinterest, and it really inspired me to buy one of her collections. This is just a piece of white lace, by the way, and this really speaks to me for a variety of reasons, which I'll talk about afterwards. This is called I Worried. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and gave it up, and took my old body and went out into the morning and sang. So I love, one of the very common themes in Mary Oliver's poems is obviously appreciation of life and just appreciating what you have and where you have it. The very short and very obvious annotation that I've written here says, a life spent worrying is a life wasted, because I'm a very, very deeply anxious person and I worry about everything. I worry about all of the little things that I can't change, and I think that's why Mary Oliver's poems are such a comfort to me, because they really remind me about everything bigger going on that can't be changed, that I never worry about, and I'm like, well, I don't worry about that because it's just a fact of life. So it kind of reminds me that in a way everything is a fact of life, because it's going to happen whether I like it or not, and if I can't change it, I can't change it. Another one of my favourites, this one I won't read, but this is called How I Go to the Woods, which I really like. I'll just give you some titles of ones I enjoy as well as we go by, but I won't read all of them like I said. This one is called Of the Empire. We will be known as a culture that feared death and adored power, that tried to vanquish insecurity for the few and cared little for the penury of the many. We will be known as a culture that taught and rewarded the amassing of things, that spoke little, if at all, about the quality of life for people, other people, for dogs, for rivers. All the world, in our eyes, they will say, was a commodity. And they will say that this structure was held together politically, which it was, and they will also say that our politics was no more than an apparatus to accommodate the feelings of the heart, and that the heart, in those days, was small and hard and full of meanness. So that's called Of the Empire. So that's another one that really just, like I said, reminds me how much there is that I could be worrying about or that could be said, and it just reminds me to be a little bit kinder to myself and to other people and to everything around me. You know, make those little changes. So this one I also won't read, but it's called Self-Portrait. And my annotation says, do not wish your life away, be grateful for all of it. And in here I have this postcard. There's no name on this to say, it says Market Street, Old Harlow, photograph Trevor Wood. And it's of this woman holding, I don't know what kind of flowers they are, but they're little yellow flowers outside of a shop. And I bought it initially because I thought it gave Wes Anderson vibes, and Self-Portrait is about, like I said, appreciating life and about her realising that she's older and she still has things she can do like she did when she was younger. You know, just because you're old, your life isn't over. And I just really thought this lady might appreciate this poem, so that's where she sits now. She's the Self-Portrait lady, and I think she's really lovely. Another one that I really enjoy is called Praying, another one I won't read, but this is the same notion as I Happen to Be Standing, which is kind of talking about the fact that you don't need to perform, like praying and things like that doesn't have to be one thing just because you think it's supposed to be. I've put, you do not need to perform for or impress anyone, noticing and appreciating is enough. So that one's really lovely. If you have the access to read these, I definitely think you should. two other ones in here that I really enjoy that, again, I won't read because I've got one coming up that I know is quite long. This one is called Just Lying on the Grass at Blackwater, and this one is called The Loon. This one, which I will read, is called In Pobody, I want to say. That's an American place, so I'm sorry if that's wrong, but in Pobody, Georgia. 3 women climb from the car in which they have driven slowly into the churchyard. They come toward us to see what we are doing. What we are doing is reading the strange, wonderful names of the dead. One of the women speaks to us, after we speak to her. She walks with us and shows us, with a downward thrust finger, which of the dead were her people. She tells us about 2 brothers, and an argument, and a gun. She points to one of the slabs on which there is a name, some scripture, a handful of red plastic flowers. We ask her about the other brother. Chain gang, she says. Or, as you or I might say, I'm not going to read that because I don't want to butcher it, so I'm sorry. Or New Haven. And then look around all you want. The younger woman stands back in the stiff weeds like a banked fire. The third one, the oldest human being we have ever seen in our lives, suddenly drops to the dirt and begins to cry. Clearly she is blind, and clearly she can't rise, but they lift her like a child and lead her away across the graves as though, as old as anything could ever be, she was, finally, perfectly finished, perfectly heartbroken, perfectly wild. Again, that one's called In Pobody, Georgia. I'm sorry about having to skip one of the phrases in there. I really don't want to embarrass myself or offend anyone. So that one again is one that kind of brings on that feeling of like Sonder, I guess, like the reminder that everyone has their own stuff going on and everyone copes with it differently, and it's just another one of those reminders to kind of be a little bit kinder and to listen to people and to have conversations. Okay, I was obviously trying to go in a bit of like page order there with the books, but I accidentally skipped one, which was the long one that I was talking about. That's my bad. So this is a bit of a longer one. It's called 6 Recognitions of the Lord. 1. I know a lot of fancy words. I tear them from my heart and my tongue, then I pray. 2. Lord God, mercy is in your hands. Pour me a little, and tenderness too. My need is great. Beauty walks so freely and with such gentleness. Impatience puts a halter on my face, and I run away over the green fields wanting your voice, your tenderness, but having to do with only the sweet grasses of the fields against my body. When I first found you, I was filled with light. Now the darkness grows, and it is filled with crooked things, bitter and weak, each one bearing my name. 3. I lounge on the grass, that's all. So simple. Then I lie back until I'm inside the cloud that is just above me, but very high, and shaped like a fish. Or perhaps not. Then I enter the place of not thinking, not remembering, not wanting. When the blue jay cries out his riddle in his carping voice, I return. But I go back, the threshold is always near. Over and back, over and back. Then I rise. Maybe I rub my face as though I have been asleep, but I have not been asleep. I have been, as I say, inside the cloud, or perhaps the lily floating on the water. Then I go back to town, to my own house, my own life, which has now become brighter and simpler, somewhere I have never been before. 4. Of course I have always known you are present in the clouds, and the black oak I especially adore, and the wings of birds, but you are present too in the body, listening to the body, teaching it to live, instead of all that touching with disembodied joy. We do not do this easily. We have lived so long in the heaven of touch, and we maintain our mutability, our physicality, even as we begin to apprehend the other world. Slowly we make our appreciative response. Slowly, appreciation swells to astonishment, and we enter the dialogue of our lives that is beyond all understanding or conclusion. It is mystery. It is love of God. It is obedience. 5. Oh, feed me this day, Holy Spirit, with the fragrance of the fields and the freshness of the oceans which you have made, and help me to hear and to hold in all dearness those exacting and wonderful words of our Lord Jesus Christ, saying, "Follow me." 6. Every summer the lilies rise and open their white hands until they almost cover the black waters of the pond. And I give thanks, but it does not seem like adequate thanks. It doesn't seem festive enough or constant enough, nor does the name of the Lord or the words of thanksgiving come into it often enough. Everywhere I go I am treated like royalty, which I am not. I thirst and am given water. My eyes thirst and I am given the white lilies on the black water. My heart sings, but the apparatus of singing doesn't convey half what it feels and means. In spring there's hope, in fall the exquisite, necessary diminishing. In winter I am as sleepy as any beast in its leafy cave. But in summer there is everywhere the luminous sprawl of gifts, the hospitality of the Lord, and my inadequate answers as I roam my beautiful temporary body through this water-lily world. Again, that is called 6 Recognitions of the Lord. I know that's a bit of a longer one, but I really enjoy that one. As someone who, I'm quite spiritual, but within that I've struggled a lot, I think, with religion and trying to understand, you know, different representations of religion and different religious notions and things like that. I think something, again, that I really appreciate about Mary Oliver's poems as a whole is that they kind of talk about how personal a journey with any kind of God or any kind of religion might be, and the fact that it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else and you don't have to do it the same way as anyone else. So that's something that I think is really important, especially for people who might struggle spiritually or have struggled spiritually. I think it's quite a common thing that no one really discusses. So this next one is called When Death Comes. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me, and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy and as singular, and each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending, as all music does, towards silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. For me, death is a very complicated thing, and the thought of it really freaks me out. I really don't enjoy thinking about death or anything related to it or the afterlife. Again, I think some of that probably didn't help with my whole spiritual or religious, crisis. The fact that I find things like an idea of an afterlife and stuff really difficult. And again, because that's a common theme in Mary Oliver's poems, I think I find a big comfort in the idea that you don't have to be scared of death, even though I still am. I'm working on it, but I think I find a lot of comfort in the idea that you don't have to be scared, and that as long as you live and appreciate your life in a way that works for you, then there's nothing you haven't really done. Another one that I really enjoy, which I'm not going to read, is called October. It's a bit of a longer one, but I definitely recommend. Okay, I will read this one. This video is probably going to be a tiny bit longer than my usual ones, but I think it won't be long enough to need 2 parts. So this one is called Singapore. In Singapore, in the airport, a darkness has ripped from my eyes. In the women's restroom, one compartment stood open. A woman knelt there, washing something in the white bowl. Disgust argued in my stomach, and I felt in my pocket for my ticket. A poem should always have birds in it. Kingfishers, say, with their bold eyes and gaudy wings. Rivers are pleasant, and of course trees. A waterfall, or if that's not possible, a fountain rising and falling. A person wants to stand in a happy place, in a poem. When the woman turned, I could not answer her face. Her beauty and her embarrassment struggled together, and neither could win. She smiled, and I smiled. What kind of nonsense is this? Everybody needs a job. Yes, a person wants to stand in a happy place, in a poem. But first we must watch her as she stares down at her labour, which is dull enough. She is washing the tops of the airport ashtrays as big as hubcaps with a blue rag. Her small hands turn the metal, scrubbing and rinsing. She does not work slowly, nor quickly, but like a river. Her dark hair is like the wing of a bird. I don't doubt for a moment that she loves her life, and I want her to rise up from the crust and the slop and fly down to the river. This probably won't happen, but maybe it will. If the world were only pain and logic, who would want it? Of course it isn't. Neither do I mean anything miraculous, but only the light that can shine out of a life. I mean, the way she unfolded and refolded the blue cloth, the way her smile was only for my sake. I mean, the way that this poem is filled with trees and birds. Again, not much to say about that one. I just really love the notion of, again, being kind to people and seeing the beauty in the mundane. I think that's just a huge obvious theme about Mary Oliver that I really appreciate. So this one is one of her very popular poems. It's not one of my favourites, but I do like it, you know, it's popular for a reason. This is called Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. And here I've written, which is probably all I'm going to say about the poem because that's why I've written it. No matter what experiences or actions we have endured, we are all meant to be here for something. So I find it really difficult to read my own handwriting sometimes. So on the next page, this is another very popular one, but again, popular for a reason. This one I do really like. Obviously I like Wild Geese, but I think this one is one of my favourites. It's called The Journey. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognised as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. So something I really like about this, The Journey, is that I think a lot of people wait for a certain time to do things. They say, you know, new year, new me, or I'll start this on Monday, or I'll start this new habit on Monday or at the weekend, or, you know, people give themselves deadlines and give themselves, like, a time to do things, and I don't think you should ever wait for a time to improve your life. I think if you want to do it, then you should do it straight away, even if straight away it doesn't work, or even if straight away it isn't the correct thing, or you're not necessarily doing it in the right way. I think straight away you should at least try. And on the second page, I've written, you are the only person you have to spend all of your life with, make it lovely. One that I enjoy but won't read is called The Kitten, which really reminds me of, if you've ever read, I think it's The Two-Headed Calf. It is very similar to the Two-Headed Calf poem. So this one is called Sleeping in the Forest. I thought the earth remembered me. She took me back so tenderly, arranging her dark skirts, her pockets full of seeds. So I had to skip a word there, so if you read the poem, then it's going to be a bit different. I don't know how to pronounce it. I slept as never before, a stone on the riverbed, nothing between me and the white fire of the stars but my thoughts, and they floated light as moths among the branches of the perfect trees. All night I heard the small kingdoms breathing around me, the insects and the birds who do their work in the darkness. All night I rose and fell, as if in water, grappling with a luminous doom. By morning I had vanished at least a dozen times into something better. So that's another one that just really makes me think of the beauty of the whole earth and all of the little things. There's one quote that I really like, I can't remember where I saw it, but it says, think about everything conspiring in miraculous harmony to keep you alive, and that's something that I really enjoy the thought of. You know, I enjoyed the thought of all of the little things happening that you don't even necessarily always think about, that are always there and are always really important. Okay, so this I'm gonna give a bit of a trigger warning for this. This poem is about someone committing suicide. It is called Beaver Moon, the Suicide of a Friend. So if that is something that might upset you, it's obviously not very graphic or descriptive, but obviously you can skip on to the end of this video, because this is the last poem anyway, so you can skip on to a bit of the outro or you can click off altogether because it's the last poem. If that's something that you don't want to listen to, that's completely understandable, and I hope you have a lovely day. So yeah, this is called Beaver Moon, the Suicide of a Friend. When somewhere life breaks like a pane of glass, and from every direction casual voices are bringing you the news, you say, I should have known. You say, I should have been aware. That last Friday he looked so ill, like an old mountain climber lost on the white trails, listening to the ice breaking upward under his worn-out shoes. You say, I heard rumours of trouble, but after all, we all have that. You say, what could I have done? And you go with the rest to bury him. That night, you turn in your bed to watch the moon rise, and once more see what a small coin it is against the darkness, and how everything else is a mystery, and you know nothing at all except the moonlight is beautiful. White rivers running together along the bare boughs of the trees, and somewhere, for someone, life is becoming moment by moment unbearable. So that's a bit of a sad one to end on, but that's another one about, well, I feel about reminding people that all over the world and all around you things are occurring that you will never have an understanding of, and that you will never know what things are like for other people. And so I just think that's so important. Again, like I said, a lot of the themes in a lot of Mary Oliver's poems are the same, but in my opinion they're so important, I think they should be stated over and over again. So there's my copy of Devotions by Mary Oliver. I might do another video one day, obviously not one day so far away, probably pretty soon, talking about some of the ones that I skipped over, or if I get another copy then, and not another copy of the same book, and if I get another Mary Oliver collection then I might discuss those, who knows, but this is, yeah, just something a bit different. Something similar I might also do is a tour of my journal or journals. This is not my only one, just something that's in this kind of style, this kind of vibe of video. I think it's something a bit lighter than my normal kind of discussions, but yeah, we'll see how we go. So that is Devotions by Mary Oliver, and yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a lovely day. You are so worthy and deserving of everything you have, and you are loved more than you know. Right, goodbye, thank you for being here.